Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are.
Yeah, me definitely. Good afternoon, 8:30 p.m. Just came out from the gym. And for
Yeah,
you is good morning, sir. How are you doing, Versan? The two of us today.
I'm all right. Just a little overwhelmed. I told you what happened. I,
Yeah,
this is so
right.
funny for the audience. They might actually appreciate this. And I went to pay my bills for, my living, right? And it took 3 days for a transaction to occur. And then it didn't work out. So they never received the money. And it was funny. I went in there yelling. Well, not yelling, but I was saying, see, this is why banks are going to blockchain. I'm like, this is why people use blockchain because it's between me and you. We don't need intermediaries. We don't need middlemen. It's crazy. So I got penalized and I had to pay a fee. And then I had to pay an additional fee called a convenience fee, but it wasn't really convenient. Wow,
Well,
man.
I
It's
know
crazy.
of a currency. I know of a currency that starts with X that fixes that problem once and for all, and also gets rid of
Yeah.
Nostro Vostro account, right? I think that
Yeah.
makes a lot of
Spot on.
sense.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for all your support for being here with us. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Would you like to begin, Edo? But we do have an election approaching. This is going to be intense. You
Yeah,
know,
I just put out a tweet like a couple minutes ago, and not sure about you, but well, I am in crypto since 2017, and I can say that there is a lot of tension in the markets. I really feel it, it's in the air. And I talk to seasoned investors, people who are as much time as I am in the markets and even more years, and they all say the same thing. So there is a lot of tension in the air. And I want to hear your opinion also. Do you feel there's tension in the air about the crypto markets right now?
of course. But the interesting thing is that the markets have already priced in a Trump victory. And this is actually happening globally. So if you look at it, what people are doing with their money, they've already priced in a Trump victory. And if that does work out, Trump is going to strengthen the dollar, which means they're going to have to print more money and prop everything up. It will look better for sure in the short term. But then there's that black swan event that if something does happen, I mean, you guys could even look back on Raskin, and Raskin was already setting the stage for civil war conditions. I'm sure everyone is familiar with that video. So who knows? I mean, they can take this in any direction they really want. Remember, we don't really have control. If you look at what the people want, the people, the population, they have already voted with their voices for Trump. You know what I mean? So, and the markets are pricing all that in. Believe me, if the markets were pricing in a Kamala Harris victory, like a victory, real victory, I think the whole system would begin to collapse already. You're not going to make any money with Camilla being president. I promise you that much.
Yeah, there's definitely tension in the markets, and it's hard to predict what's going to happen in the next 7 days, right? We don't
Mm.
know if. Do you think this election can be rigged? I mean, everyone's expecting Trump to win, right? What if
That's why it could
the
be rigged.
other outcome? No, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well, of course
mean,
it can be rigged because I mean, first of all, look at the polls. The polls already artificially inflated. Camilla Harris at 85%, something like that. No way. Come on. Like, I mean, this woman never existed until about a year ago. Like, I didn't even know who the hell she was. Um, and really,
I will go even further. Look, I'm not in the US, but I never spoke to someone who told me I am a Kamala Harris supporter. And I'm not even joking. I don't think of anyone that I know that supports her. So, yeah,
yeah,
I think the polls look pretty much rigged.
there are some people that do support her. And if you actually look at those people, um, I don't even, I have to be very careful what I'm saying here. I know a lot of people are listening and emotional about the whole election thing, but I'm not kidding. This election, this whole damn cycle has really exposed who's who, what you embrace, who you really are as a human being, as an individual. Are you a critical thinker? Yes or no? Do you embrace evil? Yes or no? I mean, these are obvious things. So I think, this whole election cycle has really given us as a species, as a people, like that thin line. Who's who? Where do you stand in all of this? Are you for humanity or are you not? And that's really what it comes down to. And also, if you look at the people who are voting for Camilla, they're usually these really distraught, tired, older people who don't really know what the hell's going on. Um, and of course, your younger people are all the ones indoctrinated from today's universities and colleges. It's crazy. So, anyways, yeah, markets are heavy.
Yeah, yeah. And well, I had a very interesting call. I think it was like a week ago with BitBoy, and he
Mm,
has said something interesting, and I want to hear your opinion on that. So basically, and maybe I mentioned this last week, but we had many people on the live, so we didn't take a lot of time for
mm,
each subject. So basically, a nice summary of what he has told me is that Donald Trump's going to be positioned in power because CBDCs are coming, and that's the only way that Republicans would take a CBDC. He was explaining that there is no way anyone would take a CBDC from Kamala Harris aside from, let's say, 10% of the legit supporters of her, which I estimate are 10 to 20%. What do you think of that, Versan? You think that makes sense?
mm. Listen, it's very unusual. It really is. But as far as the CBDC, I think there's going to be a point in time, and I really don't care what the other guys are saying, that there's not going to be a CBDC. I know what Trump has said, but a CBDC to some degree is inevitable, and I'll tell you why. How many people are actually investing in the technology? How many people are aware that you need to own some gold and silver, that the dollar is in trouble? How many people have diversified their currencies? And if I'm not talking about our community here, our community, everybody in the space is just light years ahead. I really would agree on that. And you look at what the rest of the population is doing, they're not doing anything. They're not making the moves. They're not investing. They're stuck in this illusion. It goes back and forth with credit cards and spending and materialism and consumerism. I see this every day, believe me. And with that mentality still there, I don't care how long it takes to wake up these people. There's only confidence in the system because people are not aware of how central bank mechanisms are actually functioning and how it all works. So in that context, on that basis, you can already see that a predetermined solution for a CBDC is inevitable at some point later on down the road. And you can sugarcoat it all you want by calling it a universal basic income. And I think that's what certain people have already done. But if you look at the very fundamentals of the technology itself, it goes back to even what the BIS has described and the IMF, and forget all those guys too. XRP, again, is creating that interoperability between CBDCs through the rails that Ripple is building, right? But that's why we tell people to own XRP. I think what's happened is XRP is its own system, right? And the institutions, the powers that be, are building the rails using Ripple around it to kind of control it to some degree, right? And what they'll have is their own system where CBDCs are being issued. So there's going to be a time and place for all of this, but I think CBDCs are inevitable. I don't care who's in office. I don't give a crap. It's the long-term agenda, because this is what they really want. They want digital IDs. Okay. That's beneath all this talk and noise. It's about the digital ID. And that's where they're trying to take us. And it's very interesting. They could use all kinds of scenarios to accelerate the move for a digital ID. Example, right? Rigging the election. Let's have blockchain voting systems in place. Example. So.
I agree, and specifically, artificial intelligence is about to wipe out so many jobs. So ultimately, I think there will be not a choice. I mean, it will be the people asking for central bank digital currencies because that's going to be the way for the universal income. And that's why I say no matter who is in power, either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, and that's why I have agreed with what Bitboy has said. And also, we have been saying the same in the couple last months and also actually for over months.
Years.
We have some bullet points here, and just give me a second. So we could start talking about gold
Yeah.
hegemonic assets, right? So I think that's the number one that you have sent to me before we start the live, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the most critical things is what's happening behind, again, all this noise and this talk is really gold. Um, it's crazy. I've been thinking about this for a very long time. And it's just when you look around at what's being done, not what's being said. So forget routers, forget Bloomberg, forget all these expert economists coming out. And I'm no expert, okay? I'm just here filtering out the noise, what the experts are also saying. And some experts out there, like Andy Schectman, he's not mainstream. Why don't you see him on Bloomberg? Why don't you see him on, Fox even? It's because they don't want his message to get out there. They really don't. Okay. So they're going to put somebody who can sugarcoat it a little bit and kind of swing you both ways. But again, what you're seeing, what's happening is that gold buying is still at all time highs. And what's interesting is that the majority of the central banks that are buying up the gold are in the East. Okay. So what do you think is happening here? And I talked to you about this on the phone the other day. It's just the fact that more central banks in the East are buying up all the gold we can only indicate that they're shifting the price controls back to the East or from the West to the East. The West has been known for manipulating the precious metals market. So we're going in a different direction. And if you listen to some of the other central bankers, this is recent, guys. Recent central bankers are actually former central bankers have come out and openly said that we are no doubt going back to a gold reserve status, hegemonic asset, a dominant reserve asset. And I just found that very interesting. I even tried to post it on X the other day. I encourage everyone to check that out. But yeah, gold, and you got to understand that with everything being tokenized and digitized, even gold that recently came out by Ripple, they're going to start tokenizing gold on the XRP ledger. You have to understand that owning physical gold, the physical stuff, is going to become more valuable, not less valuable. And the main point, what I'm trying to make here is don't forget you need to own physical assets. And with all due respect to the people in the crypto space, in the community, I think a lot of them are too blind to understand that going digital is not, they think it's the way out. It's not. The more I've learned about all of this, the more I've understood that it's important to be positioned equally on both sides. And if that's what the institutions are doing and they're selling you guys the lie that digital money is the future, it is the future. I understand that, guys, but that's the trade-off. I'm not kidding. The trade-off is immense riches and gains to kind of throw you into that digital gulag, if you will. So yeah, you want to be on both sides.
Totally agree. I think there is a very short window to capitalize on digital assets, and I think yes, they are the future, but you will not capitalize on the future. I think the window is now. We have probably 2 to 3, maybe maximum 5 years where the opportunity to make money. And then regulation is coming, guys. They're going to regulate even the DEXs. So if you are, they want people to do KYC everywhere, and that's the way we are going. And the more taxes are going to be, I just saw, I think 1 week ago, someone posted a screenshot on X. They did some trading of XRP. They sold it and they bought it back. Didn't even realize gains, and they received a 60,000 bill at their house just because they traded XRP. So I think more and more they are seeking to control and seize our digital assets. That's why I think the time to build the strategies now. I mean, get yourself a digital ID of Palau, for example, get multiple residencies, multiple bank accounts, multiple jurisdictions, passports, everything you can, because they're really coming for it. And also have cold wallets as much as you can, because I think the next 36 or 24 months are going to be pretty intense for digital assets, and also CBDCs are coming, and it's not going to take that long. I think the economies are getting weaker by each day, and it's not only in the US. I am located in Europe, and when I speak to people of my age, well, they're not living the same reality. Most of them are very much struggling. People are actually doing 2 to 3 jobs. They are very unhappy because one job is not even enough to pay for the most basic necessities of a human being nowadays. So we don't even see artificial intelligence scratching the surface of what's going to become in the next, and I don't even say years. I mean, the technology is there. It's just a matter of how quickly they're going to implement that. So I think it's a very pivotal moment for people to protect their digital assets and also to get ready and also explore. In my opinion, I think you have to explore multiple jurisdictions because it's so much uncertainty of what's going to happen in the next years that it's to some degree it's scary, but in the other hand it's also exciting because there's so much opportunities.
Yeah.
And as I said, in my opinion, the window is very short, and I think we are very early, but also we can't relax and we have to take the necessary actions to ensure that we're going to live this transformation on the top 1%, because literally there's going to be a division of waters. We're going to have two different classes, or you're going to be super rich, or you're going to stay on the floor, you're going to stay on the bottom of the pyramid.
Well, they're
And
going
I'm
to
not
level
saying
the
I
playing
agree.
field. They're going to
Yeah,
level the playing field. Go ahead. Sorry.
literally it's going to be like pay to play, because I'm not saying I agree with this system, but we have to play for these rules. I think it's happening in real time, and people are just getting uh, more distressed. People are getting in financial issues. If you look, the average American, for what I was reading, don't even have like $10,000 in savings, and I think that's very
Yeah.
concerning.
Yeah. Most people don't even have 1,000 in savings. I'm not kidding. It's crazy.
Yeah,
And if they do, I guarantee you they owe that money to somebody else already. And it's not really funny, but I mean, this is exactly the consequence of central bank printing money. When central banks print money, right? It completely devalues the currency. It first of all, they get access to that money first, so they can go ahead and buy the assets that again you can no longer afford to hold on to because inflation is higher. You have to sell those goods and those assets that you had, like your Rolex watch, your gold bullion. I don't know, a television set. People are actually selling things like you wouldn't believe, and they're selling things because they have to pay for the goods and services that are now more expensive. And this is the mechanism, what they do to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. And they sugarcoat the whole thing with what they're talking about now. Oh, the central bank's going to lower interest rates once again. And they did lower interest rates. And because they lowered interest rates, what happens to that? They went ahead and printed all this money. Now they're going to go buy everything else. And let me tell you something. I was at the grocery store yesterday, got a few things, including some berries. $6 for berries, man. Can you believe that? It's already finished. You see? Um, and I spent 280 something dollars on just a few groceries, man, like good quality food. At this pace, there's no way in hell that the average Joe and Jane is going to make it until the end of next year. And I don't care who's in office. I really don't. Because, see, when Trump comes into office, sure, he says he's going to make all these changes, but is it actually realistic? Let's actually see. I hope it is, because if you listen to what he said in the past, and this is why I don't believe on both sides to a degree, I think we're both being played on both sides, and I don't care what people believe, but Trump has publicly talked about strengthening the dollar. Well, how the hell do you strengthen the dollar, right? You got lower interest rates back to zero. That means borrowing money becomes easier. That's only going to exacerbate the problem that we already have. We need some solution where gold is playing a key role in this. And I think that's what the BRICS is doing. But then again, you'll have those guys on the other side saying that, oh, Trump is working with the BRICS. Well, let's hope so. But, let me tell you something. If they crash the dollar, and that's really what their agenda was, you better have weapons and ammunition, because the whole damn system will fall like dominoes real fast. And I think this is a gradual thing that's happening. And it may take another 5 years. Who knows, right? But then again, I mean, we'll have to see. I don't know, man. It's just there's so much happening in the world, and I don't think people are actually paying enough attention to the details. And on top of that, we have a geopolitical tensions too. I think XRP plays a key role in digital assets in general, guys. It plays a key role in maybe even stabilizing not just the economy here and abroad, but also being a solution instead of having a currency war. Maybe we can have a solution like XRP where you could kind of bridge currencies, allow everyone to participate, allow everyone to have access to liquidity and so forth. And yeah, that's a peaceful solution there. It really is. So who knows, right? Some very interesting things are playing out. And as people think there's an awakening going on, I'm telling you, man, I've lived on the Middle East on both sides of the world, and I think America still has a very distorted view on what they want to call an awakening, because I've heard things like Trump even talk about redirecting hatred to the Middle East. Well, the Middle East, that Americans have a very distorted view on the Middle East. They really do, man. It's very sad. So,
Yeah,
anyways, I could
totally
go
agree.
on and on. There's so many things that tie into this, and I hope maybe the audience is getting what they want here, but we can switch the subject, whatever you guys want to talk about.
Yeah, let me have a look in our bullet points here, but it's incredible. I mean, in terms of the groceries, what you mentioned, Europe is going on the same direction. It's becoming unaffordable for the majority of people, and you can see even I barely eat outside, but what's happening is that they don't they can't even afford olive oil anymore. I mean, you go to the most restaurants are starting to switch from olive oil to like seed oils because it's a more affordable solution, which is actually terrible. And well, it's getting worse and worse. In every section that we look, it's just getting more and more expensive. That's why I prioritize real estate as well in Europe. I don't talk about the US markets. I don't have experience there. So maybe there is a bubble there. But in Europe, one of the ways to save your wealth, it's gold, silver, crypto, and real estate. So definitely going to that direction. And well, I'm just checking our bullet points here because we have a couple of them. I think, yeah, so we have spoke about job losses as artificial intelligence takes over. Want to
Yeah.
get some thoughts on the debt market expansion and how the US debt is out of control?
Yeah, of course. Also, I did pull this up. Can you guys see this? Yeah. Oklahoma bank fails. This is the first bail-in that has actually happened in a very long time. So, not one word about it. You didn't hear anything about this. And this just took place October 21st. Okay. A few days, maybe a week, 2 weeks ago. But you didn't hear anything about it. It took me a while to find it. Andy Schechtman told me about this. He said that Versan, this is the first bail-in. Anyways, so when you do more research into this, I found out that they took all the money. The FDIC got involved. They could not insure anybody. And guess what they told the people with their money in there? We're going to be able to pay you back over 4 years. I'm telling you guys, over 4 years, that money ain't going to be worth anything by the time they get it all back. It's very sad. It really is. And this is an example. And what people don't realize is that bank bail-ins are systemic to other banks because these smaller regional banks, they borrow money from the bigger banks. So if they default, it spills over into some of the other traditional bigger banks, and then they can collapse too. So this is a massive consolidation phase of banks. We talked about this months ago, guys. They are trying to consolidate the global financial system, and they are still succeeding. Whether this is going to be a big open decentralized or not, it's a domino effect. Someone just put that in there. Exactly. It's a domino effect. So we're in the early stages of this. Now, you said something about the debt market. The debt market is, I mean, it's designed to just keep expanding, honestly. There's no doubt the debt market, it's under serious pressure, and we have to keep expanding it because you have to expand the debt market so you can sustain the debt that is unsustainable. It's a joke. It really is. And also remember, we talked about this last time. One man's debt is another man's assets, right? So when there's this talk about a debt jubilee, who the hell knows what that's going to look like? But I don't believe in free lunches. There's no such thing. That's pure nonsense. There's going to be a serious cost for maybe even losing your anonymity as riches and digital assets are exchanged under the guise of solutions. You see what I mean? But the debt market is just going to keep expanding. But why do you think central banks are buying gold? people say it's you know, it's a way to strengthen their balance sheets. That's like the silliest thing you'll hear a mainstream expert say. What they don't realize is that central banks, even the U.S., is hedging with gold so that way they can leave the American people holding the bag when they dump on the bond market, and it will blow up at one point. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, yeah, it's just going to keep exploding, and as the debt keeps getting bigger, they're going to have to keep buying that debt and making them richer and richer, and we get poorer and poorer. It's crazy. So, what do you do to fix this, right? And you got to go back to some sound money system. And who knows? But that's why I've been trying to talk and connect the dots between what the Bank for International Settlements was doing, the World Bank, because there is no doubt that gold is going to play a key role in this new system because everything's going digital. We need some digital representation of gold and probably stable coins. This is what we talked about for a long time as well. So there certainly will be a role of stable coins because the BRICS nations, after their meeting, you guys saw the article that happened with Project Enbridge, right? I found out, I did research, did some phone calls, talked to a few people. It turns out it was bullshit. And by the way, it came from the routers. It came from Bloomberg. And these are, again, George Soros funded news outlets. They really are. So my point, though, is that they're buying time for the inevitable. And at the same time, they're dependent on the fact that you and I might not wake up to this, right? To maybe get sidetracked again. And also, I have a document here from the Bank for International Settlements, if I can pull this up, guys. This is recent. Talks about Project Agora. Has anyone heard about Project Agora here? You can put a thumbs up in the comments. No? Okay. Let's see. So I did put a tweet out recently about this, but Project Agora is structured as a public-private collaboration facilitated by the Bank for International Settlements and the Institute of International Finance. I actually just watched the whole podcast on the Institute of International Finance. Larry Fink was there. He talked about blockchain, Saudi Arabia, talking about a distributed ledger technology that can seamlessly connect other payment systems. I mean, guys, you know how it is. And they're talking about here a two-tier monetary system with programmability, smart contracts, private-public relationships, central bank money, and retail money. So listen, they're not going to say XRP anymore. I've come to understand that. Where the hell is Edo? Okay. Okay, but my point, though, they're not going to say this. They're not going to tell people that, hey, guys, we're using XRP. I'm serious. I mean, those who are in this community who have done their research at this point, we're laughing about it. We really are. It's like, yeah, it's funny. This guy says it's the Voldemort of crypto. We shall not say his name. It's hilarious, you know, but for people like us, we probably said it so many times. And by the way, guys, I have so many more documents here where they actually do mention XRP and XLM. It's just interesting that after, what was after like 2022, when that World Bank document was released and kind of got circulation all over the world, the Bank for International Settlements changed something that you had to have a subscription with the bank. You have to be a member of the Bank for International Settlements just to see the PDF. You had to be a member of the IMF just to be able to see the documents. So everything that's already out there is out there, but the new stuff that they're coming, you actually have to have an account. So you can't even see it.
No, and Versan, that is smart tweet. I once reached out to the IMF because they have very particular documents that I was looking for. And they told me the only way to get the document was to get an approval from them. And I would have to travel all the way to the headquarters in Switzerland. I'm not even joking.
That's not funny. Yeah, because think about it, guys. Like, I know I'm laughing here, but I'm not. They're the ones setting the rules for the new monetary system to which we are all subject to. Doesn't that bother you? Don't you want to know? And I think we've all done enough research here to where I think we understand that there are a few technologies that are, again, interoperable with each other and that are very necessary to bring solutions to some of the broken systems in place, like supply chains, for instance, right? Payments, that's the biggest disruptor, which is very interesting, by the way, because every disruptive industry has been sued by the SEC. And the SEC is just an aggregate and an extension of the Senate Banking Committee, the corrupt institutions like Senator Warren and whatnot. So it's just interesting when you think about it like this, because Uber got sued. They disrupted the taxi industry. Netflix disrupted videos and how we stream, movies and whatnot. Tesla got disrupted, messing with the auto industry. Uber, I already mentioned that, but Google, guys, Google, they disrupted information. Who else? There's so many. Apple, they got sued too. They disrupted communications and so forth. It's crazy. Amazon, yeah, it's crazy,
Even
guys.
Chris Larsen was sued by the SEC.
Well,
He
Chris is
had
an aggregate of what Ripple was or OpenCoin. My point, though, is that it's a disruptor. The fact that it disrupts the global banking system, that's a big problem. They need to kind of build the rails around it. Remember what Ripple said, that Ripple and XRP are two different things. They never issued XRP, right? It's very interesting, but now they're building the payment rails to bridge them onto traditional systems so those institutions can use the XRP to move the value around, right? So it's incredible. And it also provides a platform where they can build CBDCs if they choose to. So I don't care about that, but that's something they can do. It's just interesting. There's a lot going on, and I hope people can see what we're seeing here together.
Yeah, there has been a lot of noise. Also, we can address that briefly. A video of David Schwartz recently. Have you seen that? That he was saying that.
I don't watch David Schwartz, man. See, I don't watch anybody in the crypto space. I do my own research and I talk to my friends. That's what I do. I'll get on a phone call, I'll talk to Andy, I'll talk to Gregory if it's necessary. I'll talk to you, Edo, all the time, and we'll poke holes in our own logic. And by the way, David Schwartz has contradicted himself so many damn times. I don't give a crap what he has to say. Okay. I'm not going to trust some guy who worked for the National Security Agency. I'm sorry.
Well, the last one, he was saying that Ripple is not working with the banks. I'm not even kidding.
Okay, that's fine. I have documents here. You mind if I read a few?
Yeah.
Okay. See, Ripple guys. I keep everything.
Yeah,
I'm not. I'm just gonna read a few. This is fun. All right, let's just do this. Yeah. Okay. So Ripple hired a former Swift board member and banking executive. That's a bank. Okay, Ripple advising the IMF. That's a International Monetary Fund, financial institution. It's not a bank, but I got some from banks here. Watch. Oh, by the way, many people might not have known this, but the former SEC chair of the SEC was representing Ripple in the XRP lawsuit. Very interesting, right? So they're playing both sides. I put a tweet out about this the other day. I said they're playing cat and mouse here, and everyone's buying the shit. Can you believe it? You got Rosie Rios, of course. She's working with Ripple. In fact, I have a clip of her. I was going to post it today on X, and it's a very short one that will just kind of loop around. But she says, I get questioned this all the time. Why did I go work for Ripple? She said, I went to work for Ripple because XRP has a real use case. Those are her words, not mine. So here we go to the banks. So Ripple hired top Uber executive. You can look these up, guys. Standard Charter. That's a big billionaire hedge fund, They strategic investment in Ripple. Ripple partnered with the Central Bank of India. 8 of the largest banks in the United States started using RippleNet 2019. Like, these documents, guys, are out there. And the internet, I think, was sanitized after the pandemic or the plant. I don't want to say it, but a lot of stuff that was on the internet, including a video I talked about once on a podcast, when I saw the XRP price glitch really high. And, people called me a liar, and I don't lie, man. I really don't. Linda P. Jones, we had a conversation, that happened, by the way. It's just I violated a non-disclosure agreement between her and I. I regret it, but these things have happened, right? So it's not bullshit. And if you look at what's happening, final thing, I'm sorry, Edo, is that everything is being strategically released. in convergence with just the geopolitical landscape, how the monetary system is failing, how the BRICS is trying to do their own thing, how wars escalating in the Middle East. It's all converging, and it's strategically being released just kind of so everything plays the way it's supposed to. And everyone calls this an awakening. I've been seeing this shit for more than 5 years, and I've been asking a lot of questions before XRP for more than 10 years. So for me, it's not an awakening. I'm just surprised people are just waking up now. It's funny, but XRP plays a big role. So what did David Schwartz say?
Yeah, I
Seriously.
take everything with a grain of salt, especially when it's about David Schwartz. We know he has signed multiple NDAs, and he has openly said that he's under NDA. So I don't understand why people take everything he says literally. And to add something on what you said, and this is a recommendation, when you have interesting documents, videos, whether it's about crypto or something about medical information that you find is relevant, something that can help you in the future, download it, because they are wiping out the internet. It's getting even more and more difficult to find the original documents. Even the X search bar, guys, I use it for me, Twitter, and now it's called X, was some sort of Google in the past. I mean, I had all my documents there because you know how many documents I found in first hand and I put on X. And now they're making the search mechanism very difficult to find old documents. So it's very important to download these documents, and that goes from videos and anything that you find relevant, because they can easily label these things as like conspiracy theory. Like let's take example, Ripple mentioning that XRP is meant to be a world reserve currency. And you have plenty of people that will say Ripple never say that. But guess what? We have the videos, we have the documents. And the only reason we have evidences of that is because we decided to download it a couple of years ago, because this information has just vanished from the internet. And this one is actually from the IMF, right? I know the artwork of them. Is it the IMF, the one you are sharing, Versan?
Well, I want you to finish your thoughts, but yes, this is an IMF document. It's recent, 2024, and it discusses a framework for system-wide liquidity analysis, and it discusses even further, and I'm going to tweet about this in the next day or so. We need a unified payment protocol that can kind of interlink payment systems at the same time, provide liquidity, and also system-wide liquidity analysis. So, whenever we hear liquidity in the space, we're always thinking about XRP just naturally. But can I also address something real quick? I'm sorry, Edo. I'll keep it short. But somebody asked me why I don't trust Ripple CTO. It's not obviously personal, right, you guys? I just don't care what other people have to say. Like, what I'll do is I'll do my own research, guys. I really do. I spend so much time reading these documents because those who know me, I don't have much of a life if I'm not educating myself or preparing for what's coming. I want to have a future, so this is all I do. And what I'm saying is, I don't trust CTO Ripple, David Schwartz, because I just don't care what he has to say. And he's also conflicted his statements in the past. He said one thing once, and then he said something else. It's not, again, personal. I know how to catch bullshit real fast. And again, I'll do my own research and I'll discuss it thoroughly and read things and understand it and interpret the language correctly. And I know what I know. You guys know what you are holding on to, for instance, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, most of them are under NDAs, and it's not even a secret. I put a video, I think 3 days ago on my X, and that's James Willis, and he's ahead of the banking connections for Ripple, and he has said that Ripple has NDAs with banks from every part of the world except from Antarctica. That's what he has said. So
Antarctica.
it's hundreds and hundreds, and if not thousands of NDAs that
They'll
are
make a deal
actually.
with the penguins.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if they had one for Antarctica, actually. And someone puts in the comments, David is probably under a NDA. It's not probably. he is under NDA, and he has even said that in the past multiple times. I do have the original tweets and even videos where he openly says, yes, I am under NDA with the NSA, with the National Security Agency. So I can't even go against him or say like I don't trust him. It's just that he's not allowed to talk openly. He's under NDAs.
Either way, that see, if you're doing your own research, you guys are going to be fine. A lot of what they're trying to tell you, and what we've been saying also, and what you guys are saying too, it's in the language. It's kind of obvious. It really is. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's not difficult to come to the conclusion that this plays a big role. That's it. It's very simple. And then you need to look around. Well, what other technologies that are not competing, but complementary to what they're trying to do? And that's how you kind of like sieve away from XRP and move into some of the other stuff. Like HBAR has had some very exciting news these last few days. And, Vendel and I, we talk about this all the time off record, and we're like, wow, I mean, these assets are going to play such a key role in just how much money is going to go into these systems and provide these solutions. And XDC, you reported on something, XDC? Tell us.
Yeah. Well, so first, silently, there is a lot happening and people are not paying attention, right? So first, I would like to address on the XRP ledger recently, we had the automated market makers, which were extremely, extremely important for XRP's adoption. We had the digital IDs amendment also implemented on the XRP ledger. And just last week, we had the approval of the oracles. And that's the same that works on XDC already. So basically, the oracles have the goal to extract the data that is outside of the blockchain and actually pull this data inside the blockchain. So that's very, very innovative for the XRP ledger. XDC already has it, and now we have on the XRP ledger. So imagine extracting the data that is on Web 2.0. So let's say we can even go further. Let's say extract the data that is on the internet and pull that data, tokenize the whole data on the XRP ledger, for example. And that's already happening. That's approved last week. It's called the Oracles Amendment. And yes, I want to put some thoughts on XDC. Let me pull out the tweet. I just opened it here. So it's going to take me like 1 minute, actually less.
God damn.
But the whole point I'm trying to say here is that it's just getting ready, guys. All the amendments, one by one, digital ID, automated market makers, more recent to the oracles, smart contracts. I mean, it's not a more exciting time for the XRP ledger, in my opinion. I think people are paying too much attention for the price action, or actually the lack of price action, but they're not paying attention for what's being built under the surface. And that's really what matters, So I just put a tweet of XDC where we had a NASDAQ that has described XDC as irreplaceable backbone of the global trade. So they just giving you the hints. That's an article. I have this over here. If you go scroll on my X account, you're going to find this article with the search for the article. And more convincing that the main ones, in my opinion, is always XDC, XRP, XLM, Stellar. You came with this beautiful comparison, the tango, the perfect tango with XRP and XLM, but I do think
takes two to tango.
Yeah, the duo tango, that's huge. I think Hedera HBAR is extremely, extremely bullish also. If you go look for the partnerships of HBAR, is just mind-blowing. You're going to find Google, you're going to find LG, you're going to find multiple financial institutions. Same goes for XDC. I would even add Algorand. It's going to play an important role for CBDCs, but it's going to be like 5 to 10 blockchains that are going to be playing a very important role. And I don't see Bitcoin playing any role on the financial system.
Well, it's funny. People think we have this like real hatred for Bitcoin, and we don't. We're just kind of like stating the facts.
It's just that I try to find, guys, I promise you, but I can't find anything that tells me Bitcoin is going to be around, or actually Bitcoin is going to be at anywhere near the center of the financial system. I just don't see it.
No, no, it won't. I mean, it's gonna in the short term, it certainly has its role because of I don't know, man, all the hype around it. Really.
Yeah.
Now, imagine if you put that much hype, what they've invested into Bitcoin, and did it around something that actually is faster than Bitcoin. And that would
Hmm.
be example, maybe something else, right? Okay. Let's say Caspa to not piss people off here. Okay. Caspa, something very fast. Um, Imagine what the impact it would have on pretty much the price action, right? You'd have retail running into this thing like you wouldn't believe. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep the retail out. How come only institutions and some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life are XRP holders? I'm not even kidding.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I put a very interesting video. I did a breakdown, and I never realized that Satoshi Nakamoto actually means central intelligence. I looked
Yeah.
it on the Japanese meaning. Well, it's Japanese. You gotta think in Japanese, right? So when you really see the breakdown of the words, where Naka really means center, and Satoshi means intelligence. So
Yeah. It's
it's
a Five
just
Eyes
it's just that.
agencies.
And
Hmm.
if you think from the perspective that the NSA, let's say the NSA did it, right? If they created it, they can also take it down whenever they want. That's why for me it makes no sense to store my wealth in something that already had its time and has no use case. They can put it down at any time. That's just my thoughts. I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying that, in my opinion, the time for life-changing gains with Bitcoin it's over like 5 years ago.
Yeah. Did you know it's very interesting? Somebody did put something about Tether in here. And I know we've covered this so many times about the revolving door between Tether and Bitcoin and the US government. Um, but the Treasury Department the other day, I also put a tweet on this. I hope you guys are following me on Twitter. If you're not, please check it out. And Edo too, of course. Um, but there was this article by the Treasury Department openly discussing, saying that the Treasury Advisory was actively talking about monetizing US debt through the blockchain. That's tokenization, guys, by the way, in layman's terms. So tokenizing US debt on the blockchain. And then it's had a comma and it says, but warnings of Tether stability. You see? They're setting the stage, man. It's crazy. They're setting the stage for something like real USD. And in 2022, we did talk about how the central banks were going to tokenize and monetize their debt on the XRP ledger. Yeah. So
By the way,
it's
with the
happening.
elections here,
And I can explain it if people have questions, like why and how could it actually
this is one
contribute.
advice. I do this myself. If you have money in exchanges, like I do have some money. I mean, let's say 10% of my holdings in, let's say, on Binance or Uphold or whatever exchange you are using. I think now it's a tremendous bad time to leave your money in USDT. I think you should live in USDC, live in stable coins, or use even in fiat. I have in euros, but I do have a feeling that things are cooking up for USDT. So it's just a personal advice. Don't leave your
Yeah.
money in USDT.
I mean, without going too deep down that rabbit hole, I mean, those who are really like good researchers, I'm sure a lot of them are here listening. They know what they're involved in. They know some of the people who've died trying to expose them in the past, even. Not going to go crazy, but you know where I think it really gets interesting, guys? I think it gets real interesting when you start to analyze exactly what real USD is doing. Real USD, it's a stable coin. We already know this, right? Now, the interesting thing is about real USD, a stable coin, it can mirror the exact same functionality of a CBDC without even being called and labeled one. And I don't know if you guys checked out the article I read, I wrote. Did you even check it out, Edo?
No,
And I
I didn't
really
have
try to
time. I
break
do
this
not mind.
down. You're too busy. I know, brother. It's okay.
You know how it
But
is, right? It's
yeah, 24/7. But by tokenizing the US dollar on the XRP ledger, that's what real USD is. Naturally, it would serve as a digital representation of the dollar. That much is clear. What I think is interesting, the fact that it's still a dollar, even if it's digitized or tokenized, whatever you want to call it, it's still a liability of the Federal Reserve. So the tokenization basically enables the same functionality of a CBDC, the same one that a CBDC would offer. It allows you to facilitate cross-border payments. It allows you to convert from one currency to another. And it's pretty much a liability of the central bank. And that's what a central bank digital currency is. It's a digital currency issued by a central bank. So it's in the language, is what I'm saying. And the funny thing is this: you have the whole community embracing real USD. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that they already got that CBDC to be supported. Do you see what I mean? That's
In
very
other
possible.
words,
Just because it's
real
not
estate,
labeled CBDC, it doesn't have to be one, right?
yeah, I think a
Digital.
simple breakdown would be that real stablecoin might be the CBDC itself, right?
Yeah. But I like to break things down further because people are like, well, why is that possible? How is it possible? Again, if it's a liability of the central bank, then it's a central bank liability. That's a CBDC. If it's digital, that's a CBDC. And think about it, all our money is already digital. And our money is a liability of the central bank already. So it's just interesting.
I want to quickly address a comment here. It's from Ricardo, and
Cheer
that's
up.
about
Cheer up.
the escrow and NDAs. And he's asking, so I will ask him to send me a DM. I'm gonna send him a PDF, but basically, uh, I don't have the evidences to support what I'm gonna say, but that's just my, let's call it my healthy speculation. And I have said this multiple times. I do believe the nearly 40 billion XRPs that are in escrow, they have a purpose. I think the escrow really has a purpose. It's not by coincidence, not by chance. And this purpose is to ensure XRP's adoption as a global reserve currency. I'll keep that very simple. I did,
Yeah.
trust me, I did years of research, and that's my conclusion. And that's the way that XRP becomes some sort of an SDR. Let's put in other words,
Mhm.
that every central bank is going to have to hold a certain amount of XRPs in their balance sheet. And that's the way they're going to transform it into a global reserve currency. And by other means, replacing Nostro Vostro accounts. And that's tied to the escrow. And you can be sure there are NDAs that are surrounding the escrow. And there is a specific agreement that was signed between the IMF and the Bank of International Settlements that happened 2 weeks prior to when the SEC lawsuit came out. And I think that's all related because I remember when they signed this agreement, and then the SEC lawsuit came out, and XRP has dropped to 16 cents. And I remember I was tracking the wallets back there, and you could see that the 90% of the wallets were selling, but you had the 1%, more specifically, the 0.1% wallets were actually accumulating XRPs. And I think they were really making the space, ensuring that they have enough XRPs so that they can distribute that to central banks, and that can become the world reserve currency. That's my speculation, connecting a lot of dots. I don't have a public agreement of that to come and say, look, that's where they signed this, but I do have a lot of evidences, and putting together the puzzle, I really came to that conclusion.
Yeah, I don't doubt it one bit. It also falls under the Basel III requirements, but they don't mention XRP. They talk about how central banks must have significant adequate reserves of gold, for instance, right? And it does talk about a unified ledger protocol, but they haven't really specified which one it is or what its function really is. They just talked about kind of like linking payment systems together. Under the Basel III requirements for all these central banks, it would seem that even the escrow, and we talked about this before, is possibly, put aside for allocation for the central banks that fall under the Basel III, but that has not been revealed yet in time, right? It's not hard to put the dots together, and I think that's
Yeah,
really
and
good
someone,
analysis.
sorry, Versan, is this comment is one that really pisses me because Sorry,
You
it's
read
not
the
about the
comments.
person who put the comment, but it's about people who saying that the escrow gets dumped. And oh my god, I have explained that so many times. If you track the escrow properly, because that's a very misconception, what happens is that this is working with on-demand liquidity, so it's XRP settlements, and these XRPs are actually later on. So basically, Ripple releases that in escrow from the escrow, and these XRPs get locked back in the escrow, and then Ripple actually buys it back from the open markets to throw that back on the escrow. There is a next account that is called XRP wallets. I can actually repost one of their posts, and you can find that on my account. And he tracks every month the progress of the escrow. So basically, the biggest buyer of XRP is Ripple. So some people say that Ripple is dumping XRP, but Ripple is actually the largest buyer of XRP in the open markets. And I have made several videos on that, on how tiny the XRP supply is. I mean, if someone came probably with 24 billion, you would buy almost all the available supply that is circulating. So the circulating supply is very low. You have 40 billion XRPs that are in escrow. You have still XRPs that are held by wallets like Chris Larsen, and even Chris Larsen has been sending XRP to on-demand liquidity, which is funny, right? People say Chris Larsen is selling XRP, and in the same time, he is allocating XRPs from his own wallet to on-demand liquidity. That should tell you something. That should tell you scarcity. And people who say that Ripple is dumping XRP, they don't really understand that Ripple is the largest buyer of XRPs in the open markets.
Well, also, furthermore, the increased liquidity resulting from the release of an XRP escrow can also incentivize more partnerships and collaborations with Ripple, right? Or the use of XRP. So businesses and financial institutions, they see growing liquidity and the accessibility of XRP as it becomes more widely accepted and used. And that's going to incline more people and businesses to explore the potential use cases of the asset itself. Another thing, it's important for everybody to not focus so much on all these nuances, because that's one thing I learned about this space. It's very toxic. Okay. There are a lot of people that love the noise. I've gotten to a point where I'm so sick of this shit. I really am. Like even people in my own circle, they want to talk about XRP and I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, same as me.
You want to go in circles around all of the noise and nuances, because every time more truth and real documents come out that can help you understand what you're reading, what you're looking at, what you're investing in, some asshole comes out there and kind of pushes you back into the water, right? That's on you then. You know, I'm getting to a point where I'm so tired of going in circles. And that's why I tried to take the channel in a different direction and still remind people to tie it back into XRP, because I think all digital traces lead back to what Ripple and what XRP is doing and, you know, whatnot. But yeah, it's getting to a point where the window's closing. You either see it or you don't. And when people are talking about research, I've seen some really stupid comments before, not today, but in some of the other videos. I always put this detailed response there saying, listen, you got, first of all, understand how the traditional markets work, the banking system. I think that's a very nice, level grounded place to begin your research. And then for Ripple, if you're going to talk about Ripple, if you're going to talk about XRP, start your damn research in 2012. That's where it begins. Okay. And bring it back to where you are today. And guess what? You'll realize that, you know, what the hell have I been doing with my time? Going in circles. Really. And that's what a lot of these people are doing on X too. They're just repeating the same thing. And I think that's important because you're getting new people to see it. And I see the light in that now. That's important. I get it. So that's a good thing. But I mean, it's all out there. It's out in the open. So just do your analysis, do your research. This is not going to happen. You see what I'm saying? Stupid people out there. It's okay. I understand. Remember how contagious that shit is. Just be careful and be mindful. You are who you hang out with. You hang out with losers, you're going to be one. Okay. You hang out with people that eat crap food, you know, you're going to start eating crappy food, right? You are what you eat, man. You are who you spend your time with. And I don't know. My question to the audience and everybody else is like, what are your priorities? Do you care about investing in your future and building a life for yourself? Or are you going to get wiped out with everybody else? And I'm not kidding. Right. So, yeah, I'm very positive
I
about this
think,
because I'm ready. I'm ready.
yeah.
Any way you hit me, I have something prepared. You shut down the banks, I got gold and silver, a lot. You take the gold and silver away, I got digital money. You take that away, I got cash. You take that away, I got food, weapons, guns, ammunition. I mean, what are you going to do? I've been preparing for this for years, guys, and I'm not afraid. I'm ready for the trials. The only thing that I will not accept when this whole crypto revolution begins is some form of chip, and that's what people refer to as the mark. I think the mark is the cell phone. I think it's the cell phone. They already got you. Everything is dependent on this. Can't pay your bills, can't move money, can't take pictures, can't communicate with people. Your cell phone is the mark. They got you already. So, question is, how far are you willing to go for money? Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. People have to be mindful. And I am with you. I'm not taking any ships. I'm not taking anything beyond just a cell phone. But ultimately, I like to see, at least at this point in time, technology as neutral as possible because we can use it for good, we can use it for bad. I just like to be the master of my phone and not the phone to be the master of myself. And nowadays, with a cell phone, you become a global citizen. So that's also a lot of benefits with that. But you can be sure in the next 2 to 3 years, I think they will push this agenda beyond limits. And
Mm-hmm.
with AI wiping out the majority of jobs, the better way is to be prepared now. I think I want
Yeah.
to be retired in 2 years. I don't even joke about it. I'm preparing myself so that in 2 years or 3 years, I'm not going to be working anymore. But right now, it comes with sacrifices. And Versan, you know how much I am working, and I know how much you are working behind the scenes. We have been working like nonstop, 7 days
I'm
a week.
so tired.
We don't,
I am.
yeah, we both are tired. We talk about this off camera, right? And this streamings is just about bring the best content that we can to our audience because we also want everyone that is watching this to be prepared and to succeed in the next years.
Yeah, at one point it was about content. It really was in the beginning. At this point, I'm so grateful. I'm comfortable with the audience, man. I'm just here to help and provide any insight I can. If you disagree, I get it. That's totally fine. All right. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't have all the answers. I don't know all the answers, but I do appreciate your support and helping me be able to attain it so I can educate myself and you guys too at the same time. I want to learn with all of you. I really do. But yeah, man, just stick to the plan. I keep telling people this: you guys stick to the plan. Don't let fear get to you. They're depending on that. Let's just pray all together, and hopefully, like something good in the next few days can come out of this, guys, because it's a very crazy world we live in, and don't forget that money is really just the surface of the conversation. So invest in not just yourself, but invest in your relationship with God. That's something I've been working a lot on. I really have, just trying to get closer to God. And you know, David's house got, I think, struck by lightning. He lost his internet.
Really?
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
kind
know
of
that.
sad. I don't mean to laugh, but his wife called me just before we got on. She's like, I don't think he can come on. But
Well, next week we're gonna have hopefully Vandel and David back. So it's gonna be
yes, yes, we
four
will.
of us. And yeah, I think we are over 1 hour. So any final thoughts, Versan?
Stick to the plan. Uh, that's really it. But um, listen, guys, there's going to be a lot of noise in the next few days. Just try not to indulge in it too much. The world's a crazy place. Sometimes it's just better to get outside and go look at the sky, or I don't know. I do that all the time. I sit on my
Yeah,
rooftop and I literally sit there for hours, just no phone, just a cup of tea and thinking. That's it. Sometimes you need to
yeah,
ponder. It's the healthiest way, to go about your day and not just be on your phone and your laptop all day. So yeah, that's my advice, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, that's why every time I can, I go to the islands here in Greece. It's great and have some time in the beach. Taking a
Yeah.
break from social media, I think that's also a blessing. Ultimately, we just want the best for our families, the ones we love, and
Mm.
you know, improve our health, our wealth, and everything that we can. So that's what these live streamings are about. So yeah, I want to send a special thanks for the audience. Have almost 2,000 people watching live, plus the ones that are going to watch the repetition. And my final thoughts are get prepared. I think the next days are going to be pretty intense. I'm not saying it's going to be beneficial for crypto or actually bad for crypto. I just have a feeling that there's a lot of tension. So get prepared, uh, get your positions sorted out. If you have stop losses, do whatever it takes, but don't wait when there is action to take decisions. Take decisions now and don't hold USDT. Trust me. I do have evidences of what I am saying. So it's not safe to have your savings in USDT. There's no reason to. I have better alternatives. And thank you, everyone. Anything else, Versan, before I tap to end the streaming?
Yeah, I noticed two comments in there. Can you explain how you violated an NDA? Listen, yeah, that it was not really a non-disclosure agreement. It's just that I was asked not to mention something, and it kind of slipped out. So it was just a verbal, you know. We had a conversation a long time ago, and she told me something, and I went and said it on an interview. That's it. But I was right. You know, I didn't make that shit up. If that's what you're asking, it went
Yeah,
viral also. So
that was a great interview, by the way. Yeah.
yeah.
All
I
right,
mean,
yeah. Thank you, everyone, and we're gonna see you next Monday, right?
last thing. I saw another comment. People are asking, why don't I talk to somebody who disagrees with me? Believe me, I talk to people who disagree with me all the time on my phone. I do it also in real time around the people I meet and shake hands with. But the truth is, I will not give an ounce of my time to somebody like Crypto Bellwether. Um, he was, first of all, very inconsiderate and rude when my brother was doing a phone call with him. I listen, I don't care what other people in the space think. I'm not here to convince anybody anything. I do this for my benefit, and you're welcome to listen. That's it. I bring people on my show like Andy Scheckman and other people. It not really in the beginning, not to ask questions, maybe to help me understand things better, but I already knew the direction of everything, how it's going, because I research this stuff 24/7 around the clock. I don't need somebody else to come in and try to debate me on it. It's not who I am. But if you ever put me on stage with someone to debate it, I will gladly do it. I'm not even kidding. Yeah. And I'll have all the facts ready, you know? So,
Right.
all right.
Thank you, everyone. And
Thanks,
also,
guys.
last message from me, be careful with scammers. They are trying everything they can, replying to YouTube comments. They're going to DM you on X. Don't send your funds. Keep your funds safe. Keep your seed phrases only in paper. I think that's also important to remind yourselves because every week someone gets scammed. And as I always say, when you get scammed in XRP, that's like losing money on steroids. So please be very mindful and don't get yourself lost. Thank you, everyone, and we're gonna see you next Monday.
Take care, guys. Thank you. People are so